Hi, I'm Jamie Fristrom, and I'm going to be showing you, or trying to, how to make a first-person shooter with Unity and Gimp, two free programs. So anybody ought to be able to do this. The first thing you're going to do, I have Unity open here, is create a new project in Unity if you don't have one already. So here we are creating a new project, and I'm not clicking on any of these checkboxes below. And I'll name it FPS Kid. Get rid of whatever we're currently looking at, and this lets Unity restart with our new project going. So here it is. Here's our new project. The first thing I'm going to do is create a floor using the Create Terrain tool. You could also create a floor by making a big box, but let's do it this way. I'm not going to do anything particularly interesting with it. I just want a floor to stand on. And now we need to put our character, our first-person character, on that floor. So I'm importing the character controllers that come with Unity. This is the one package that we need. And there we see our package in the standard assets in the project window. And we can just drag the first-person controller character into the scene. I just zoomed in by rolling the mouse wheel. You look at these axes over here, you can click on these things to get different views of the project. You can click on Y to get a top view and X to get a side view, and it looks like we've put our character controller in the right place. And we can click the play button at the top just to try it out. And here we are in the game, looking around, moving with WASD. But it's pretty sparse. Something we next want to add right away is a light, a directional light. We'll just quickly light the whole scene as if there's a big sun shining on everything. And that'll make things a little more clear. But let's put some stuff in the level just so we have some idea where we're standing and what's going on. So I'm making these cubes, and I'm going over here into the transform properties and changing the scale, the X, Y, and Z, to 10, 10, and 10, 10 meters, 10 meters, 10 meters, to make it a fairly weighty thing. I'm clicking on the cube's arrows to move it around. You have to make sure you're in move around mode. That's that little plus up here. I just switched to look mode. Now I'm back to move around mode. And now I can click on the arrows and drag the cube where I want, along the directions I want to. Now I just duplicated the cube by right-clicking on it in the inspector window and saying duplicate, and then I can move that duplicate and make some more cubes surrounding my character. So now we play the game, and oops, the cube is a little further off the ground than I intended, but that's going to be just fine for our purposes.
So let's save the scene. The scene is what they call the level. This is the level we've just made. We'll put it right here in the default assets directory they're telling us to. Let's call it main level. And there now, if Unity happens to crash on us, we'll be okay. And let's also save the project. And then we can open up Gimp without being worried. So if you're a Photoshop expert, you may want to use Photoshop instead. Okay, so we have Gimp open, and I'm going to open a piece of art that Sophia made in one of her art classes that I think is really cool. The sun, which you may recognize from Numbergun. And what we need to do is make a transparent sprite out of this. So first I'm going to crop it a little. I press the R key to select a rectangle, and then I drew the rectangle around the sun, sun. And then I'm going to rotate the sun so it's facing the correct direction. Image transform, rotate 180 degrees. So there's our sun. Now we want to make it transparent, so the layer is going to need a transparent layer. So we can go to Layer, Transparency, and add alpha channel. The alpha channel is the transparent channel. To pull that purple section out. So let's see what we can do here. So I like to just shift-click in the transparent regions to sort of select more and more of the picture. And once these sort of cross-hatched regions look like they're mostly gone, that's when you know you've made a fairly good cut. So now that we've selected that area, we can simply delete it, and that'll show the transparent layer behind it. And now we can save this. I like to save it in a separate directory. I like to save the XCF file in a separate directory, which I call source assets. These are assets that Unity won't try to read in. Let's call it monster. And then we need to export it. This is with Gimp 2.8. We need to export it as something that Unity will read and into the correct directory. So we export into the assets directory monster.png. And now when we go back to Unity's thinking, we see that Unity has added the monster to our level. So now how do we put that in our level? So okay, so let's put a monster in this level. Now, one way to do this is to and we want this monster to be a flat card. He's just a flat sprite that is going to follow the character around and always be facing us like a sunflower. So the way I like to do that, assuming that he can't turn around and we can't see his backside because then this won't work. Assuming he's always going to be facing us, then it's easiest just to make a cube. Let's make the cube 2 meters by 2 meters, but then we make the cube completely flat. So it's not a cube anymore, it is a square. And let's call this cube monster. F2 lets you rename. And he doesn't look very terrifying. Let's see how terrifying. Let's put that texture on him that we made, this monster texture. We just drag it on him. And if you haven't set the material, you need to set the material to unlit transparent in order to see through that transparent area that we made in Gimp, and also to have it not go dark when there's no light shining on him. So we look at this guy, he's upside down if you look at him from that side, but he's right side up if you look at him from this side. So depending on which way he is moving, he's going to look correct. So let's just take a look at him in the game. There he is, looking good. Go around him. Okay, so now we need to make him follow us. So how do we get this guy to chase us? Well, I'm fond of a product called UnitySteer. It doesn't come with Unity. You have to download it from the asset store. UnitySteer is a great way just to get some motion behaviors going on your characters quick and dirty, and then you can refine them later when, if they are or are not doing what you want. And after it's downloaded, you should be able to import it into this project just by going to the My Stuff and importing all. So this guy is a monster, so let's we want him to chase the character. So UnitySteer comes with some chase behaviors. The way to make a thing to quickly attach a behavior to a character, you can make them an autonomous vehicle. We'll drag autonomous vehicle over. And we're going to have the monster steer for target. So then we're going to put this steer for target behavior on the monster. Drag him over there. Appears in the window. And the target is the first person controller. We drag the first person controller into that little target field, and now he knows to chase us, in theory. Let's there's one more piece we need to add to him, which is the rigid body. This lets physics work on him. And one of the first things we have to do is unclick the Use Gravity button. Another little setting we need to make. This is basically going to be a 2D first-person shooter. We're going to have him move in the 2D plane, and let's see how that works. Here he comes. He was a little stuck there for a second, but now he's chasing us. So yeah. So now we need to be able to shoot him. Okay, so we have now attached our gun to our first-person controller and put a bullet and told it what bullet to shoot. If we play the game and we click the fire button, a bullet appears, but it doesn't go anywhere. That's because we haven't attached the bullet script to the bullet yet. So we'll do that simply by dragging that there. Okay, so let's save our work. Control S, save project, and so I have 3 scripts from Numbergun that I can share to make it so you can shoot enemies. They are, and I will make these available on my website, so you can use them too. So the scripts are the bullet script, the gun script, and the enemy script. Take them together. I'm going to copy these. I'm going to put them in our directory. And where's the enemy script? Right here. So with these 3 scripts, so I forgot one more script, the spin and fall down behavior. That's a cute little script that makes it so when you hit one of these guys, they spin and fall down. So we need to put our spin and fall down behavior on our monster. So let's save the scene. The scene is what they call the level. This is the level we've just made. We'll put it right here in the default assets directory they're telling us to. Let's call it main level. And there now, if Unity happens to crash on us, we'll be okay. And let's also save the project. And then we can open up Gimp without being worried. So if you're a Photoshop expert, you may want to use Photoshop instead. So there's our bullet, and well, let us name it bullet. F2 to rename. Now, what we need to do is make this into a template, and that way our gun can spawn as many of them as it wants. And to do that, it is as simple as dragging it into the other window. Now we have a bullet prefab, and we can delete our original bullet, and then tell our gun, here's our gun script, tell our gun that there's one bullet prefab, and put our bullet prefab into the element 0. And there. Okay, so now we can take our gun script and put it on the first person controller. And there it is in the window. Now we need to make some changes to this. We need to give it a bullet. So here's how we make a bullet. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to make a tiny spear, and that's going to be our bullet. That looks pretty good. Let's make it a little smaller than that. There, that looks like a fine bullet. Let's color it red. To color it red, we can create a material. Let's call it bullet matte, and make it a nice bright red. So we need to do a little more with this bullet to make it move. And you can do that without any script at all by attaching. First we'll need to make it a rigid body. And then we attach a force. Constant force, there it is. This constant force is going to continually push the rigid body in the direction we want. And we can simply say, okay, go forward, by adding to the z coordinate. Actually, we don't want to make it, that's world coordinates, we want to do it relative to the thing. Whatever's forward for me, the bullet, that's the way I want to go. And to make sure it doesn't spin out of control, we can, to make it always go in the same direction, we can freeze its rotations. That way, if it hits something, it bounces and it won't spin off in a new direction. So, one last thing we need to remember to do is set the scope on the gun script to the first person controller. I actually can't tell you why I set it up to work that way, but I did, so that's what you have to do. So now when we play, it hits our bullets fly, and the weird thing is they kind of bounce. Don't know if you're seeing that there, but you fire them off and they sort of bounce off the ground. The physics isn't quite doing what we'd want it to do. So we can fix that by going to the bullet and saying, oh look, use gravity is clicked on the bullet. Let's turn the gravity off on the bullets and see what that does. There, that's more like it. Now they just sail away. If you want your bullets to go faster, you can just increase the force they're being accelerated away at. And if you want to use it's you have to replace that sphere with a plane that has their art on it. Sophia made a arrow for our game that we used. Okay, so we've noticed that this monster doesn't actually always seems to start out a little stuck. It's not until you sort of get in front of him that he notices you and starts following you around. So there might be a couple reasons for that. One is he might actually be literally getting stuck on the ground. So let's just lift him up a bit. And then it doesn't help that and then it also I don't know exactly how the steering code works, but maybe it only steers towards you if he sees you. So let's turn him around so he starts out looking at you. To move things around, I'm just grabbing the arrows and dragging them, and that's how you can move things. To move things, you have to have this little arrow-like plus turned on. Now I want to rotate him, so I'm going to click rotate, and I'm going to grab this green circle around it and use that to bring him around. Now he'll be facing me, and then I'll go back to the work horse move things around mode. Okay, let's play it now. Rah, he's coming for me. And got him.
Okay, so that's the end of part one. This turned out to be a lot of work, and I ran out of time. Sorry for the messed up recording levels in there. If you want a part two, where I can explain how to add more than one monster and some front-end HUD text and a game over message when you lose, let me know and I'll do that. But otherwise, I think I'm done with this tutorial for now. Thank you for staying with it this far.